Alright everyone, how you guys doing? In this video I am going to be reviewing the iPad Air, which I've had for a week, and since I've owned all the iPad and I happen to run a tech channel, I thought hey, I'd give you my views on it, especially for those of you who are going to be getting it for Christmas or are thinking, hey, is this going to replace my desktop or notebook? Now, this, hands down, before I even start, I'm not going to give you the technical specifications of the iPad, because if you're watching this and you don't know what the technical specifications are, then don't really know what to say. But hey, I'll leave a link in the description where you can see what specs you can get. This happens to be a 16 gig version, not that it's going to really matter, but the weight of the iPad Air, I feel, is what the iPad 1 should have been. If you go back to my previous videos from 3-4 years ago, I've always said that the iPad should be a device in which you can hold from one hand with ease and your fingers not getting strained or in pain. And the iPad Air successfully achieves that. Really nice size. They've also done away with the bezel. They've reduced it, meaning if you're holding it as so, you can easily press the keyboard buttons because the bezel is no longer thicker. So in a sense it also looks smaller screen wise. It looks like a iPad mini plus in terms of size for some odd reason. Coming from an iPad 2, an iPad 3 and an iPad 4, it just seems that it looks a tiny bit smaller, but it's not really. The display size is the same, but it's really nice to kind of use and carry about in an eye gear jacket, of course, without having to kind of notice that, hey, I've actually got something on me. One of the great things about this iPad Air is not that it's only light and thin, but it has a Retina display. Yes, the iPad 3 and iPad 4 had a Retina display, but with that came weight and size. The 3 and the 4 were a step backwards in my opinion. They sacrificed the screen for a tablet which should be easy to hold, but finally they've come out with the iPad Air, which, you know, not only gives you the same level of battery usage, but it's also been really nicely polished off and reduced. The feel of it is almost identical to an iPad mini. Staying on the topic of displays, there is definitely one thing that I have noticed, and I've also seen this in a few forums. The actual quality of the display when you're navigating your way about seems to be hollow. A few instances where, not much, but once or twice I have noticed where it's not registered my fingertip for some reason. I'm not sure if I prefer this or the old one. The older one just seemed to be really solid. This seems to feel as if I drop this, the screen's going to go in the one go, whereas in the older iPads I feel maybe about 2 or 3 falls and then it would crack. But this just seems to feel cheap in a good way. The screen quality, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic, and I still can't make my mind up which one I prefer, but I think I like the older one, and I guess over time I'll get used to this, but it is one of the things that I noticed and I thought I'd bring it up. In terms of audio, the sound is really crisp, again coming from the previous versions. Maybe I didn't use the audio as much back then, and because I'm reviewing this or really testing it for this review, I have noticed the audio is more crisper, as is the front facing camera and the rear camera. You know, I've done Skype calls and the quality difference you can notice, and the person on the other end knows that, you know, I have got a new iPad Air because the quality is so nice. And finally, because of the weight and size, which is what I'm coming back to again and again, you actually can now take images, even although it looks more daft. And hey, Apple did mention this as one of the main things at the keynote, where people were using this as a camera, but because again you can hold it with one friggin' hand, the quality on the camera and video is really decent. In terms of speed and processing power and so on, I'm not going to talk about it too much, as I've done a comparison video, a real life hands-on between the iPad 2 versus the iPad 4 versus the new iPad Air. I done boot up test, Safari test and iMovie exporting, and the iPad Air just laid the smack down pretty much on the iPad 4. Double the speed when it comes to exporting, double the speed when it's loading up websites at the same time, and boot up tests were quick as well, and the iPad 2 was just out of the league completely. Then again, it's a given, it's what, 2 years since the iPad 2 was released, so obviously come this year or come the future, obviously things are going to get faster and faster. There is one criticism where this has only 1 gigs of RAM. So far I've not felt, I really do need more RAM. I have had the occasion, and this is kind of widespread everywhere, where people are having apps crashing at random times, as in the apps is closed, and that's more to do with iOS 7 because it's been so horribly designed on the iPad. On the iPhone it's pretty nice, but come on the iPad it's just been neglected, and hopefully over the next few weeks or months, as the updates kind of roll out, and who knows, come next year when the iPad Pro comes out, because they've done a rebranding this year, named this the iPad Air. Obviously Apple tend to do that. They've done that with the iPads, the iPhone to an extent with different models, and the iPad and the iPad mini. And just to finish off this video, will the iPad replace your netbook, notebook or desktop machine? Now I've got 3 categories of people: students, businessmen and the kind of average person. Students, I was a student myself. I've done honours degree, got a master's degree, spent about 6 years or so between various unis and colleges, and no is the outright answer to can this replace your desktop or notebook. It can't, and it all comes back to, irrespective of all 3 categories, multitasking. So if you're doing a lot of reports, presentation is what they mark you on as well. For my business degree, for example, having your table of contents really polished off and how it presents itself, and advanced things that the iPad doesn't do and most probably won't be able to do. And you've got various files open at the one time, citing sources and referencing, and getting something from one research paper, copying that and pasting it into this document, and kind of collaborating all the documents. And the iPad will never, in my opinion, replace a true productivity device, which is indeed the iMac. Even when I'm kind of working here, if I just scroll back and show you, multiple windows are open, and yes, I am using all of these. So the iPad will truly, maybe next year, maybe once the iPad Pro comes out, that will slowly, not immediately, but maybe 5-10 years, we can slowly start to see that switch. But in its current form, the iPad Air is going to be a complementary device for you students, i.e. taking lecture notes or presenting your slides in a group presentation or a class presentation, not maybe entirely writing your presentation on your iPad, and maybe copying it over and then using it to swipe between or zoom in and zoom out, but the entire creation will be done on your desktop or notebook. The second category is business, and I can relate to that since that is what I'm doing just now. And no, I couldn't run my entire operation off this. Again, coming back onto multitasking, doing video stuff, doing, looking at customer orders and trying to do and, really kind of customize even emails, for example, rushing through emails. Yes, you could probably read off this, but you would want to write back on this, simply because all the files, all the data is stored on a huge device like this, 1 terabyte of storage. So all your business files, your artwork, your documents, everything's stored on here. Yes, you can do Dropbox and so on, but it's just an added hassle. And saving stuff in the cloud, I'm still unsure of, purely because of a safety reason. I don't want personal files to be in the cloud. So there is a lot of kind of drawbacks to using an iPad as your primary device. I don't think it is going to happen, but maybe next year the iPad Pro, hybrid device between iOS and Mac, somewhere in the middle, and as technology kind of goes forward, it's hard to say, but definitely right now in current times, no. Then you've got your third category of people. So if you work a 9-to-5 job, whether it be in a call centre, McDonald's, retail store, anywhere, and you come in and you just want to check your email, Facebook, Twitter, watch YouTube videos, read a book, read a paper, then yeah, perfect. You don't need a notebook or a desktop device. Ideal for parents as well. They're not going to be doing, the likelihood is they're not going to be doing intensive stuff other than browsing, shopping online, playing the odd game, emails. That's it. This is the device for that. but everything else, I can't see myself switching from this. But hey, never say never. I hope this video has answered the questions. If you have picked one of these up and are going to be using this as a primary device for some odd reason, then be sure to get at least a 32GB device or above, not a 16. This is a 16, and because it's going to be used in addition to this, then I don't really need much space or storage. But yeah, that is it for this video. If this video has helped, feel free to let me in the comments below. What spec did you get? Are you disappointed? Are you happy? What iPad are you coming from? Are you coming over from an Android? Are you waiting for the iPad Pro? I am looking forward to it. Come next year I shall be getting my hands on this. Or heck, iPad mini. I can't ever see an iPad mini truly being a replacement. A tiny screen versus a 27-inch. I shall take this bad boy any day of the week and eat that Retina iPad up. See you in the next video.